Here I am with my completed travel journal. I recently went on a trip to Chicago and I posted a video of me preparing my journal and my supplies for taking a trip and being able to journal on the go. And now I am back and have finished my journal and thought I would share it with you. So I covered the cover. This is just like an insert to a traveler's notebook style journal that has different inserts to include in it. And I dedicated this whole insert to my trip to Chicago, which was 5 days. So watch my video if you want to see how I did the cover. But then flipping inside, the first page, I put a little, who this belongs to. I also put a start and finish date on there, just even though I have the year here, but I thought it would be fun someday to know the specific time frame. And I put a little bit about how the trip came about. This was a family trip. I went with a couple daughters and their fellas, and just had a great time. So we left on the 29th. I used my sticker dates and days that are available to my patrons over on Patreon. A lot of the things in here are printables that I cut out and had ready ahead of time along with me so that I could do some of this work while I was, on the trip. This is actually out of my little sketchbook that I drew and finished and then cut out and put in here. I thought I might do more of that than I did. I didn't actually do that all that much, but I did this first day. So this is jumping right in. I did print lots of photos and I had lots of stickers. I saved little bits and pieces, like from the airplane, airport, and then I had gotten stickers ahead, which was very handy to have. And then I just took tons of pictures on the trip. I used my Canon Selfie Square I had along with me, and I printed a lot of these on the trip, the photos that I took, but then I also finished printing at home as I finished the journal. But I mostly focused on getting these pages, like the photos, down, and focused on that and did some of the writing later then. And so this was the travel day and our first day there. We did go downtown and had a late lunch and rode the train, and so I just kind of made note of all of those first impressions of the city. On the 30th, this is another printable, as is this. This is a sticker I had along, but we went to the Art Institute. We saw the Bean, very notable attraction, I guess. But the Art Institute's something that we all had really looked forward to, so it was really exciting to be there. And here we are jumping into that. Now I didn't even try to give myself room for all the pictures I took here. I took so many here, and I think I will put some of them in actually like a sketchbook, and maybe because there's some that just are inspiring art-wise, and that way I can record what's inspiring about it. So I did focus more like on having family photos in here, and then just some highlights. I have these postcards that I got, and then I just put like some top highlights in there rather than trying to cover everything. So I did make copies of the brochure that we were given, because I didn't actually want to cut it up. I think I'll include it in my sketchbook also. But I did use some of the artwork that was on the brochure on these pages, and included some photos, some high points, some examples of some of the things I saw. I had just finished a 60s workshop, an in-person workshop in my home studio like the week before, and so it was really exciting to see some of the actual pieces that we had talked about, you know, to see them in person. So I kind of made note of that. This was a favorite piece that just I was really drawn to, and it was an artist I wasn't familiar with, but now I'm thinking maybe I need to look into his art more. And so it was just kind of intriguing to me, and so I made note of that. I had fun looking at all the close-up details of how the art was made, like the individual sketch marks or brush strokes or whatever. So I had fun looking at those. Saw this actual piece there by Andy Warhol. Saw this actual Van Gogh piece. But I also saw this piece by Van Gogh that I didn't even know about, that actually is, I think, my favorite Van Gogh piece, and I had not been familiar with it. And then also this piece by Monet, really, I was really attracted to. I think the contrast of values with this really dark area, and of course the trees here, it's just a little bit different than a lot of the Monet pieces, and I did really enjoy it. But it was also very fun just to see all the super famous pieces that you always, you know, see on calendars and books and everything, to see them in person. So that was really fun. So I only allowed myself this spread for that visit, even though we spent hours there, and it was really awesome. So I'm kind of undecided. I think I might also put add a few more in here on these backside of these postcards, just to get a few more images in. I'm not sure. I'm undecided about that, but for now it's done. So we'll see if that evolves some more. That same day then, we walked to the Willis Tower, previously the Sears building, and went to the sky deck, which is on the 103rd floor, and they have these like glass boxes that stick off the side of the building, so that you go in this glass box and you're actually like, the floor is glass and the walls and the top everywhere is glass, so you just feel like you're hovering in space far above the city, 103 floors up. And so that was a fun experience, fun to do that. So I just kind of put some information there and some pictures that we took there. So that was pretty fun. This is more about that experience, and I also included, like, I just had so much fun just walking through the city, and I was always stopping to take pictures and then having to kind of hurry and catch up with the rest of my group. So I was always lagging behind, but I'm so thankful for all the pictures I got, and have since been busy making some art pieces from some of those pictures, and probably will be for some time. So much inspiration. So that was kind of two spreads for that event, but part of it was just about the city. And then we walked from there, we went to a Garrett's popcorn place, which I guess is one of the things that you need to eating experience you need to experience in Chicago. So we did that. Talked a little bit about the train. This is one of our train passes. We rode the train pretty much everywhere except for walking. This was the Airbnb we stayed in. It was very nice. And then I also kind of made note of how many steps we did each day, and kind of kept track of that. The next day we went, well, my son-in-law and daughter walked to get donuts for everyone, and they got donuts from this Far Cakes donut shop that had very fancy donuts, but they brought those back. So we had those before we ventured out to look at the Frank Lloyd Wright home and studio, which was very interesting. And then they also had a walking tour of 10 homes in the area that had been designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. All very interesting. I included this little part of the brochure that shows those 10 homes and what the names of them are. I have since purchased a book. The books that a nice gift shop, but I did not want to haul books back with me on the airplane and everything, so I actually ordered some used, cheaper versions after I got back. And so I have since gotten a book of that shows these different homes. So it's nice to have the names here and remember which were which. There was also this big old ginkgo tree in the courtyard of his home, and so that was fun too. Fun tree. I put a picture of that in there. So then we walked from there to eat lunch at a Potbelly's, just had fun. We walked through a park. This mosaic piece was actually in an alleyway, and I was so impressed because it went up the side of the building and onto the pavement below, like the sidewalk area, had all this mosaic work. It wasn't painted, it was mosaic. It was beautiful and very fun. I went to, right across from where we ate was a paper source store. So I went there and bought some sheets of collage paper, which I will have fun using. And this was one of my printables, just the street that we were, shopping and eating on was very reminiscent of that, just a bunch of little shops and restaurants and things. And after a brief stop back at the Airbnb, we decided we still had some time in the day, so we went to a conservatory, and I had no idea what we were getting to. It was the Garfield Conservatory, and huge. This isn't even the biggest conservatory in Chicago, but it was huge, and so many different kinds of plants. And again, I took so many photos, and will have so many art pieces that I hope to make from those. I've gotten a start, but I've hardly made a dent in all the photos that I took there, so that will be fun to do. Again, here I put some of the plants, but I mainly focused on our family photos here in the travel journal, and will leave those inspiration photos for my sketchbook or elsewhere. That evening we came back and ordered Chicago deep dish pizza, so that was a new experience too. I never had an authentic Chicago style pizza before, so there's pictures of that. Talked a little bit about that, and then we were all tired, and so we watched a movie which I fell asleep during, so I didn't see the end of that. The next day we woke up to rain. It had been raining all night, and it was still raining, and we decided to try to go out anyway because the forecast said the rain was going to let up. Well, we tried to walk to the train station and quickly discovered the water was like halfway up to my knees, and just decided that was not going to work. So went back to the Airbnb and just had a nice leisure day there. Then we set back out again and braved the rain. First thing we did is, after we got off the train, was went to buy some ponchos. So we bought some rain ponchos, which helped a lot. And then we were going to try to go to the planetarium, but our GPS wasn't working or something, and we kept getting led astray to where the bus station was. Anyway, by the time we kind of figured out where we were, it was too close to time it was closing anyway. So we just kind of walked. We were already soaked, so we just kind of walked around the city, went down Magnificent Mile and looked around a bit there. Enjoyed it. The thing I enjoyed most, though, was the city was absolutely beautiful. It was just gorgeous with that misty, rainy weather. The tops of the buildings were kind of like, it was like they were in clouds, and it was just gorgeous. So enjoyed that. Also just the, adventure of it all. We also we kind of stumbled upon a Blick art store in our wandering around, and so we had fun stopping in there and doing some shopping. Of course, I had to buy a few things, and Then we went back, and that evening we ordered out from Portillo's and got our Chicago hot dogs, which were very good, I have to say. The next day was the sun was out, and this was actually our last day in Chicago, so we were trying to work in all the things that we hadn't done yet. The shed aquarium being one of them, so we made a quick stop there. We did look at the sharks, and I took a video, which a photo doesn't do its justice, but it was just mesmerizing of sea urchins, and we saw jellyfish, and all the things you see in an aquarium. It was a very, very nice aquarium. I also was very impressed by their decor, which they had this, I don't know what kind of ceiling you call this. It was kind of like a classical style ceiling with the sunken panels. Each of those panels, though, you didn't see it unless you looked close, had a different sea creature in it. So cool. And then this light fixture had a octopus hanging over it. So like the attention to detail in their decor was very impressive. These stickers, we walked from there to the planetarium, and these are by Flimsy Fox, and if you're her patron, you would have gotten these as a sheet of space themed, so that was perfect timing. So I put those in there. We didn't have long at the planetarium, and honestly was just a little bit disappointed. I'm sure their shows were very good. We did not do the shows, but the view from there was really spectacular. Looking at the Chicago skyline. These museums were kind of out on a peninsula, and so standing out there and looking back at the view was pretty cool. There's some more of my printables here. From there we went to Navy Pier. The rest of my group walked the 2 miles to the Navy Pier. I opted to take a water taxi, and that was really fun. So I rode that over to the Navy Pier, kind of like the next peninsula over, and we spent the afternoon there. It was okay. It was too crowded for my taste, but it was fun, and it was fun to people watch and fun to watch the boats coming and going. I live in Kansas, so watching boats is kind of a novelty for me, so I did enjoy doing that. And then another highlight was at the end of that day we went on an architecture boat tour, and it was beautiful. The time of day was really pretty because the sun was low in the sky and shining off the buildings, and that was really fun. Again, I took oodles and oodles and oodles of pictures and have been making art from those. I mainly focused on having who I was on the tour with in my journal, and we'll have those other photos, or at least in the form of artwork, to have elsewhere. And then this is more on the architecture boat tour. These cameras I have throughout are from some of my printables for my patrons. I put this postcard in here because it shows a nice view of the train. I try to take pictures of the train, and I did get some, but it doesn't really show very good from the vantage point I had. So this is from, I don't know, up in some building maybe, but it was a nice view of the train, so I was glad to get that. And again, put my number of steps we had that day. And then early the next morning, it was off to the airport and home, and I was sad to leave, but also happy to get back home as usual. And so that was the end of that. I have a few pages. Oh, I was also pleased to get actual paper boarding passes, and I love having paper ephemera, and I'm a little bit sad that so much of what we do is on our phones. For whatever reason, I didn't get the email with the QR code boarding pass, so I had to get paper ones printed out at the airport, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I don't know, there's just nothing like having these paper boarding passes. Just fun to have the ephemera. And also as an artist, I enjoy having those things to include in my art, and so I'm all about the paper fun things on a trip. So then I had a few pages left, and I think I'll just use those for sticking in as I run across them like leftovers. I didn't have very many pages. I came out about right. But putting in my leftovers, I have this page back here where I had stickers that I took along, and I've used part of them, but I think I'll just take this out and transfer these into, you know, my next travel journal to use in that one. But all in all, my system worked pretty good. I was glad to have this prepared ahead of time and ready to go. I did do some on-the-go journaling, and then just got it finished up when I got back home, so that worked out well. That is my journal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.